Hi.
We are here.
Hello.
It is Wednesday. I'm Carpe the DM. I am here with Dauntlys, a very, very talented DM. And yeah, we couldn't be happier. I feel like I've been gabbing off stream for too long. Like, I sort of looked up and was like, oh, snap.
Yeah, it's pleasant conversation. I love it. I love it when you get distracted.
1,000%. 1,000%. Part of that distraction was actually just hearing about Dauntless's sort of journey to the table. The very first time that they were playing D&D, I guess it was 5th edition. I didn't clarify that.
Yes.
And they essentially knew instantly that they wanted to be a DM.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like, could you tell me a little bit about that? Like, what was it? Was it the storytelling, the playing multiple characters? Like, what got you?
So, I for those who haven't heard me tell this story, because I feel like I'm Gandalf and I entice people to pull up a chair every time I have the opportunity to soapbox about this. But one of my dearest friends, I love him to death. He and I like mind meld on so much, even though we're like Team Rocket and I'm the loud one and he's very quiet, but like we just click.
Yeah.
And he really wanted to get into D&D, and this was like high school, so there was just no presence for it at the time. And so we would go to our local library and start playing together as a way to spend time together with some of our friends.
That's dope.
And he's super into the Monster Hunter games now, and I think that's like looking back I can sort of put a pin in his shirty too. He did a homebrew. Oh gosh, it's one of the source books. Can't remember the name of it. I think
But he kind of riffed like a homebrew adventure
yeah,
book.
yeah.
I love
And
that.
it was just so fun. It was so much fun, and then watching him put so much love into it. I am a theater kid, born and bred.
Let's
So
go.
for me, getting to, even though I had no fucking idea what the rules were, getting to pull up a chair to a table and like realizing I had this entire imaginary world in front of me was really powerful. And then also realizing it was three things. It was that, just being a storyteller and wanting to tell stories in this way. I wrote like I was going to die if I
Uh,
didn't constantly produce stories. So
and
knowing I
that was
could have an
before
outlet.
D&D? I'm sorry, that was
Yeah.
before. So you were already in that groove of like,
I
man, I'm
literally, in my
proliferating.
childhood bedroom, had stacks of spiral notebooks with
Oh
just
my God.
material.
Wait, Dauntless, just like, we got a caveat. What were you writing? Like,
Oh
not
boy.
like short fiction? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what was it?
I'm gonna go with an overall yes. Like short stories. I think I wrote like 62,000 words of like a YA novel. I think it was in the 60,000s.
Dude,
Um,
that's a lot, especially by hand. Give me a break.
I transcribed all of it. Like I typed it all up afterwards, and yeah.
Let's
I
go.
so I was just like knee deep in fantasy, I think, at that time too, and wanting to do something with it. So getting that outlet was great. And the third one, and my favorite reason to start playing D&D, in my brain before I knew the rules, if I could tell a good enough story, if I could roll a high enough deception check, I
Mm.
wouldn't have to know the rules. Because all of my friends who knew the rules would tell me what they are, and I just had to be responsible for the story.
Yeah,
So
you're like, I just need the die and my imagination, and then
exactly.
they will filter it.
And it worked out.
That is absolutely hysterical. It did completely work out. Like, I'm so curious what the adventure book that you guys were kind of porting over was. So you guys are in high school. You guys are wanting to play D&D. You're like getting into it. It's happening, and then, for these library sessions, for the most part, were you, regardless of your familiarity with the rules, were you the one kind of running the game?
Yeah.
That's so sick.
Yeah, I
That's
would
so
bring
sick.
over my stuff and drop my bag and be like, I don't know what we're doing, but we're gonna find out.
Yeah, that's honestly a great approach with many things. Um, Gravage, how are you, Prince? Appreciate you rolling through, dude. God, I
Hi.
love you. I'm not sure if you know Dauntless. She's an amazing storyteller, DM. streamer, and we're just kind of hanging, chatting D&D. She started as a player, immediately knew she wanted to be a DM, and just dove in to the waist, which is a good way to do it. So, like, have you found that you are you? I mean, obviously, we'll talk about Stormborn's Curse. That's one of Dauntlys's actual plays that she runs on Twitch, but which is homebrew, obviously. But do you enjoy campaign books? Do you typically like reskin? You know, like what's your vibe?
So I have really bad ADHD.
Gotcha.
And so as much as I love pre-written adventures, they just don't jive with my brain. There have been a few. I managed to run Minds of Fendeavor, but I did a Scooby-Doo like homebrew riff.
Cool.
Still have that one in the vault.
Wait, what's the Scooby-Doo riff? Can we know it?
Yes. So it's Minds of Fendeavor up until Wave Echo Cave. But the catch is there's two different versions and it depends on the group I'm with. The catch is that either in the beginning, the entire party of Scooby-Doo falls out of the sky like it's a plot of their movie. Yes, exactly. That was great. Like as if, you know, our D&D characters are kind of the extras to their whatever animated movie they would be in. Or that they are just conveniently NPCs that are there, and it's just a joke to see who notices first. It depends.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, but the NPCs in that example, and yo, what up, Root? Get in here. Sorry for the notification, dude. You need to email Twitch support right now. No, we've been on for like 5 minutes. But whenever you say NPCs, is it the Scooby-Doo gang is sort of just casually splattered about as NPCs in the world, or your party is casually NPCs in the Scooby-Doo world?
Both, depending on which way I run it. So either our party is sort of the NPCs for the Scooby-Doo gang, and they have to get out of this fantasy world that they found themselves in and back to their world.
I would love that.
Or I want to run it again. I missed out on Halloween this year, and because I've just been busy, and it's just one of my favorites. It's so fun. Is that like Scooby-Doo in Halloween, man? It's just classic.
in D&D, and I love this about D&D, obviously, but like most role-playing has such an adjacency or presence with that high fantasy, like the classic Tolkien, you know, world and expectation, and to literally have like Shaggy, you know, drop through the floorboards or whatever is just funny. Like that kind of stuff makes me laugh. You know what I mean? Like if you know the party and that they're into that.
Yep.
Like that's gonna play.
It was a lot of fun to get to design the Scooby-Doo gang as fantasy characters and like try to be true to them with their classes, and then also just the hilarity of it being them. In this fantasy world was great.
That's so good. So that's sort of a port over of Lost Minds. I'd ask, you know, Dauntless, what her sort of style was in terms of more homebrew, more working from an adventure book. Have you ever, I mean, because I totally feel you on the ADHD, especially whenever you feel like, oh man, I have to be on book. You know, I'm sure the actor in you, the theater in you is like, I need to hit my beats. I need to have my marks. You know, and of course that can be so much more flexible with homebrew as long as you're tracking all of it. Has there been a campaign book that you've like have you run Strahd? Or I feel like that's the big one where people have like.
I want to run Strahd. Strahd is on my wish list of games I want to tackle one day, that if I'm ever gonna beat the big mean source book BBG, it's gonna be Strahd.
That's a great goal. I'm a player that's like 8 or 9 sessions in.
Really?
And I'm loving it. Oh yeah.
It's my vibe. Everyone knows I've got the triangle of like vampires, cowboys, and pirates. That's just, I bounce around it. So we gotta find a side eventually.
I'm trying to think about who is right in the middle of that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who is that? It's like Lil Nas X meets like you know what I mean? Like a I'm trying to think. Anyway, no, that's a great triangle to find yourself in terms of storytelling. So let's kind of talk about that in terms of like, you know, your approaches. You mostly run homebrew.
Yeah.
Let's say for example, you were, wanting to rehash that, that port of Lost Mines, or you had some other idea where you're like, oh man, this is going to be a cool, like 8-shot. I want to see what's up with this. How do you normally approach that in terms of, like, how much do you feel like you need to have down to feel good about it?
In terms of just starting a campaign in general, or rehashing a source book specifically?
Well, I'm interested in both, but really I had originally was more interested in the homebrew, kind of the zero to something. You know what I mean?
For me, and this is just my personal preference, how I approach world building, I need to know the world before I know the story. For me, I can always pull any plot out of my ass and sit back and analyze where characters are going. But if I don't know the world confidently enough to know how the players would affect it, the story will fall apart.
Yes. I love that. I'm sort of just like sitting with that, like, absolutely. Because that if this, then what else is so much of, I think, good DMing, right? Is sort of being like, okay, what is the logical trickle down? What is the sequencing within that? And this is one that, like, used to be, well, let me just ask it. In those situations where you do know the world really well, and let's say that it isn't a source book, so there isn't as much of a written build out of this is how Don John would respond or whatever. Do you ever roll for those as in kind of as a determinant? Yeah. Are you very much into that?
Yes. So for me, I always try to build my worlds like a ticking clock that I can just kind of set, so that at any point I could say, where's this character? And I can probably logically, reasonably guess where they are, what they're doing, how they feel, etc. So that I can then leave moments up to chance like that. So if I have a character ask a question that's unexpected and I'm between two responses, I'll roll a percentage die. I'll roll a percentage die to see if anything from weather to, like, a world-ending catastrophe happens.
Damn,
I just like
go.
Mixing it up on top of the foundation of a set system is really intriguing to me.
And what a great way to put it in terms of, like, mixing it up, like adding chaos to a very firm base or a firm system, which, is oftentimes like my life experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But no, 100%. I find that it is well. I mean, it creates, especially with like weather patterns or random encounters in the wilderness, like small things where I like having a scale of, like, is this going to be a frost giant that is traversing this area, or is it going to be like some elk? Because both are like really can communicate elements of the world or the season, right? Or whatever the situation that might be felt by the NPCs and some other peeps. I love that. So, like, if you're rolling a percentile, oh gosh, that's so wild. So has there ever been an example of it's mid-session, or fuck it, it's 2 hours before and you're like, all right, I gotta sort some stuff out. Here we go. Shake it, roll it, and a catastrophe or a near catastrophe unfolds?
Yes. But the answer to this contains Stormborn's Curse spoilers. So
Oh,
how are we
shit.
feeling about that?
I mean, I'm okay with it.
All right.
I'm okay with it.
I will say also, just in terms of timeline, usually where I recommend people start Stormborn's Curse, this happens before. So, and like you see the consequences of it. So it would kind of be, I think, more plain to people, maybe just hopping on the boat from our recommended jumping in point. So I'm not too worried about it. But cool. In our campaign, we have a character named Tessa. She is a half-elf druid from a lost kingdom. Her kingdom has been, druids are my favorite class. I will always have druids.
Yes. Respect.
So her kingdom's been destroyed. She's very typical, not lawful good, but very typical, like, good person, empathetic, just sort of the bleeding heart of the group.
Gotcha.
And she sort of she's their moral compass. She keeps them together as they're on this quest,
which you desperately need. Or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, be it the cleric, You know, the fighter with
In
a conscience.
personality, she's their cleric.
Copy. Okay.
She's their babysitter.
A DM's best friend is that.
Yes. She's saved many an ass
Right.
during some tough moments, and her backstory was a big secret. I intentionally created her for the characters to generate assumptions about where she came from and what she dealt with, and therefore where she'll go. And I intentionally designed her so she seemed a lot more flat to the surface, that she's just a good person. She just does things out of the goodness of her heart. There's nothing more than that. But in reality, Tessa's a very broken person, and this is where that dice roll comes in.
Gotcha.
So her kingdom was decimated. Everyone that she loved was essentially killed in front of her. And at that crucial moment, she had a choice about what she was going to do with some very powerful magic. And she chose to use that magic to bring back everyone and essentially kickstarted the end of the world.
Wait.
So.
Okay, I copy all that. Did the kickstarting of the end of the world, was it sort of like a butterfly effect of that many like timelines being returned almost?
Stormborn's curse functions on a butterfly effect system.
Damn.
Yeah. So she started the end of the world, and that is her secret that she hid from the party. They are trying to stop the catastrophe that she
initiated. Wow.
And she tells all of them, don't act on your revenge. Don't let your feelings cause your judgment, because she did, and she sees the consequences of that. So there was one episode where she was going to have to make a decision if she was going to betray the party or she was going to tell them the truth about something very important. I had kind of plotted out both lines, and I didn't know which one I liked better, and I ended up leaving it to chance, and I rolled, and she betrayed the party.
Dude.
And it was really great.
Dude. Okay.
So
okay.
I never will regret rolling that die.
That's
ever.
So wild. And it was great. I've no doubt it was great. And I don't mean to I'm more just sort of talking out loud. Because that's amazing and an incredible example of not only if that, then what else, right? But then leaving it up to fate in such a way that you can actually pop in. Dauntlys, get in here. She's in here already. Let's go.
I'm in here.
Yeah, get in here already. Yo, D-Man, I didn't see you popped in. Let's go. Agreed. Low-key secrets, sort of just like in acting, having a little something that only you know that's affecting the way you speak, the decisions you're making, that stuff keeps you in it. And again, I don't mean to just do play-by-play of what Dauntlys has just described, but that's part of why I love dice rolling as well, because there is a freshness and a kinetic electricity, an energy that passes through the DM to the table anyways. But whenever you, the DM, are kind of damn, I don't really know. Here we go. That is so palpable. So that's rad. What did it look like when she betrayed the party?
That was a roll I did before the session, because I knew if I made it at the table, they were sort of suspicious of some of the things going on with her already. So I knew if I made that roll while we were live, that the party would kind of suss it out. And I wanted it to be a complete blindside event. So I rolled it, I think it was an hour before, and I sat down and I said, this is it. And so narratively, the two paths were Tessa, and both of these out of the goodness of her heart. That part never was a lie about her. And I knew that would always be the core of her characters, that she really thinks what she's doing is for the best of everybody, and she doesn't want to hurt anyone. And all she wants to do is atone for what she did. And that can either go in, I'm doing this to protect you, or I did this and I need you to protect me. And so when I made that roll, and it was, I'm doing this to protect you, it just changed everything about how I saw her. So it wasn't even an outright and pulling off the mask, and it was I. It was just more of it's one of the most infamous moments, I think, of our entire group, where we do some timeline fuckery because of the butterfly effect situation. So there's a timeline 1 and a timeline 2 because of this event. That's how major it was. And so in the before times, in timeline 1, where all of this is occurring in real time, Tessa used this ancient magic to bring her homeland back. So it was like as if nothing ever happened. And so the party goes to this huge celebration for the coronation of Tessa's younger sister as the future leader of this kingdom. And she's seeing everything she wanted play out in real time. And it is in this moment that we get the literal first glimpse of our BBEG, Captain Hugo Stormborn, for whom the story is named.
Holy smokes, wait. But that's... Okay, and what's his relationship to the sister?
So Stormborn and Tessa have this thing where Tessa, the ancient magic that she used, she's trying to destroy it because she knows the potential of it is too powerful to be let loose.
She opened the Pandora's box. She's trying to close it back up.
Exactly. She's trying to close it and destroy it.
Copy.
Throw it into the sea. Wants that. Literally. Well, she would, but Stormborn's out there, so she's kind of out of options. He wants that for himself, and he knows that she has it, and he knows what she's done with it. So he knows the capabilities of it, and he sees it. So the second that Tessa uses that magic and it comes to fruition, he comes to claim what he feels is his, and the party watches as Tessa, who up to this point they assumed was telling the truth, who they fought to just trust, they watch as she is confronted by Stormborn himself and is revealing at the coronation of her sister, they find out her family was not supposed to survive.
Okay, let's take 5. Let's just take 5. Let's take a
casual
casual 5. Guys, thanks for coming through. Stream's over.
There will be a quiz. I hope
there will be a quiz. Yo, honestly, yeah, that's why we record these. I'm like, I gotta go back through this VOD. Dude, damn, that's some heavy stuff. Okay.
Yeah, it's all butterfly effect. Everything, every action has an equal opposite reaction. Every cause has an effect.
And of course, so accurate, right? And so simultaneously like creative and infinite, and can spiral it out, but something that's really hard to root as you have and connect, right? In terms of finding that balance of like, well, anything could happen. What logically would? And that overlap between Stormborn and the two of them, that's fucking dope. Okay. There's so much to talk about. My mind is blown from that.
I've opened Pandora box.
Yeah. No, that's so sick. And especially as a player, to see this friendly NPC called to task by the villain is such a paradox of kind of moral hierarchy and expectation, and that shit is saucy. Like, Dauntlys, that's dope. Okay, I want to get through some of these comments because I know they're agreeing with me right now, but then I have some questions about Tessa in general. Okay, yeah, agreed. Like, Loki's secrets are what make it. We are all in the story together, and the dice are the enemy, or every now and then a friend.
Yes.
Agreed. Depends like how much sage my dice need, the man, but completely agree. Gervonch, the butterfly effect is one of the most mind freak things ever. Agreed. Like, it's hard. Okay, this is tangential, but I think you'll appreciate it. I do a lot of tutoring. That's like kind of my, like one of my main like side hustles. And most of it's sort of like, math stuff and I mean, just whatever, algebra 2, geometry, whatever. But there have been a handful of times where I have taught either creative writing or screenwriting. And
I do screenwriting.
Right? And it of course is a passion of mine. I've written and produced a number of scripts and comedies, whatever. And just like with anything, because Dauntlys, is it okay if I tell them about your relationship with teaching? Dauntlys is a theater teacher. And so knows all about like, the need to corral a bunch of people, passing on information. It's part of what makes her a very good DM. But as I was trying to teach this child the basics of screenwriting, of storyboarding, of, kind of the cat in the tree and sort of how plot arcs can work, he was committed to writing a story about time travel. And I was like, my man, let's do it. But here's the skinny, like it is because he was talking about movies he'd seen, examples that he didn't like. And I was like, man, totally feel that. Just know that like there is a reason why a lot of these films fall apart. It is a very hard thread to weave all the way through. But it can be done. And when it is done, it's so beautiful because like you said, Gervonch, it's this like mind freak of expectation and deviation from that. So anyway, I'm just with that. I mean, the butterfly effect, not sure about my short movie. That's hilarious.
I'm sure it's great. If, like, honestly, your passion speaks volumes.
Yeah, no, totally. And appreciate that as well. No, and thank you. Yes, Coffee Cops is my love song to the business. But enough about all that. It just got my kind of gears going. So in that example, it's a great one of homebrew, of Dauntlys building this world out in such a way that whenever a very high leverage critical moment unfolds, they have such an understanding of the landscape, right? That it's then that much easier on the fly to be like, no, it's either this or this. And I mean, not to just like blow smoke, but truly like and I know some DMs disagree and I totally respect that. But for me, in my opinion, having that moment and having that thread, that fork in the road, and leaving it to chance is like the height of tabletop.
Yep.
You know, the dice tell a story, man. And like, we're there to kind of broker it, you know, to a large degree. Okay. Anyway, so Dauntlys, that's absolutely incredible. Can we, like, just with the example, and we'll pump it properly at the end, because I'm curious for a first-time viewer where you would have them jump in for
Sure.
Stormborn's Curse. But can we just talk about, like, your inspo for that, like how long the process took, and then also just on the back end, I'd love to know how you go about kind of session zeroing before you start playing. But what was the genesis of Stormborn?
Okay, I'm gonna ramble, so
Please.
you're gonna have to corral me.
I'll be there.
This is all I love talking about. This is Stormborn's Curse is my baby.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, the genesis of Stormborn's Curse. As I earlier referred to the triangle of cowboys, vampires, and pirates.
And I'm writing that down. I meant to cowboys, vampires, and pirates. It's so funny.
Yes, these are like it's just specific like hyperfixations that I had as a kid that I know way too much about that never really went anywhere. There's like a fourth one, but it's not part of the triangle, and it's theme parks. And that's a hint for maybe a future project. But the genesis of Stormborn's Curse was me going, I want to tell a story like this. I love Lord of the Rings, but I don't want to do Lord of the Rings. And all of these books are Lord of the Rings, because at the time I didn't really know much about D&D. So what's something really weird I could do? And I thought of sci-fi, shelved it because I knew I didn't know enough about the system to make it work. Pre-Spelljammer and everything too, so it was like real rough out there. And so I was like, fuck it, pirates. This is technically a medieval overlap in times. We can make that work. We can make medieval overlap and pirates work historically. Yeah. So I sat down the process to writing Stormborn's Curse, like first Genesis thoughts, like the Big Bang, to me sitting down and saying, this is finished, I think took about 2 years.
Oh, wow. Cool.
I really wanted it to be that foundation, like we talked about, to be solid, that I felt like I knew the world in and out. Part of my process, and I think it sort of informs Stormborn's Curse and my DMing going forward, like, I want to build a world that feels like a template, but not because it's empty. I want a player to be able to walk up with any kind of character, and I can say, okay, well, maybe you came from here, and okay, well, if you came from here and you killed this person, that means this person is now on the throne in this kingdom, and if this person's on the throne, that means there's a war over here, and to spiral out. If I were to run Stormborn's Curse 10 times back to back, it would never play out the same. And not because it's different people, but because of the choices that are made and the backstories that come to the table. So that was my process. It wasn't, I mean, I have key NPCs that are really important that don't even necessarily need to be with the party, but just their existence is important. But it was mostly about building a world that allowed possibility and that allowed potential energy to gather, so that whatever the party did, even if they went full evil, if they all rolled up with evil characters, that there was a world for them to play in. I think that was most of the process. It was writing that, and then I play tested it once. It went terribly. I play tested it once.
Wait, what, was it because it needed some tweaking, or like, did people not understand the world?
The
Like what was so bad about it?
The beauty of D&D is the players, but the downfall of D&D is also the players.
Same source.
Yeah, I had a group that I think didn't understand, like, the DM is also a player at the table.
Yeah,
and
you gotta have
so
fun.
yeah, it wasn't fun for me. I'll say that. The world worked perfectly fine. We had so much bullshit happen that nothing in the world broke, but it lost steam because nobody was having fun. And that was no matter how much duct tape I applied, you can't fix that sometimes.
Oh, man, that really is a bad feeling and a bad moment. But honestly, like, a part of, I mean, D&D, but certainly good DMing, and one that I don't think I've really talked about all that much, is the need, I mean, yes, to vet your table, but to have that conversation about the DM also being a player.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like, I mean, beautifully weighed out in terms of you wanted to create a template. You wanted to create something that someone could come to you with anything almost, and find a reason for it, right? Find a hook for it and a place for it. And that's beautiful in and of itself, but like, I think, kind of like inherent to D&D, I think that's sort of the magic of it. Oh my gosh, my little pup just rolled in.
Is there a puppy in the room?
This guy is so tired. He just rolled in and went out.
What's his name?
This is Marley. Hey, John.
Hi.
Oh, can I get some ice? Hey, cutie.
Oh my goodness.
He's been at a friend. He's been playing with friends since like 9 a.m. So he is.
Good for him.
He's on top of the world. He is on top of the world.
He's winning now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we forget how much we need to go, like, give people hugs and, like, run around a little bit. But Dauntlys, you talked about how, regardless of what people brought to that, how there would be, of course, like, a spot, but there would be key NPCs that they might not even be hanging out with, but that their existence alone is significant enough and has a place enough. And that is, I think, so imperative to successful homebrew, is like understanding that, okay, you don't need to like railroad them to meet the viceroy or whatever, but like you need to understand like the viceroy's reach on trade in the region, on military in the region, on whatever.
Exactly.
So then that like that world feels inhabited and feels like it can be impacted one way or the other, right?
Yes.
And can you kind of speak to that in terms of, because you have this idea, you're putting it down, you're play testing it, you're coming back, you're revamping it, you're writing, were these NPCs, I guess, let me sort of back up. For me, sometimes I'll create NPCs and they end up being really prominent. I'm like, oh wow, this guy's like beloved and like a huge figure in this town now. And then also the opposite, where I'm like, okay, well, no one wanted to follow up with that guy that had like tons of information and would have been a good resource. So like, is it kind of splitting the difference, or like, what does that process look like for you in building those NPCs?
I definitely have my fair share of, oh wow, they really did not talk to the key person in the room. Okay.
What's up with that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think when I make my NPC library, I treat them like player characters without character sheets. So
cool.
Even if their backstory is only 2 sentences, I make sure I know them enough so that if a player's like, I'm gonna teleport into the castle and talk to guard number 3, then I know guard number 3's favorite color and the name of his wife and the name of his dog. And not because, not to show off or not to, work myself to death, but just because you want the world to not have cracks in it that way. So I think for me, I approach every character knowing very well that the players could interact with them once and never talk to them again, no matter how much I love that character. I'm a player at the table in the sense of my place there, the respect that I'm owed by players, and my presence in the story as well. But I'm not a player in terms of it being my game. these are not characters for me to play to be a player at the table. If I want to be a player at the table, I'm going to play in a different game. So, and that's my personal approach. I know other DMs do that differently. So when I sit down to create a character, like I'll take Casper for example, because he's a fan favorite. Casper is a very young pirate captain. He's like a 20-something, suave, very thin, like Flynn Rider type in personality, attractive pirate, charismatic, mischievous. He's a fan favorite for that reason, I think. But
wait, can I ask just real quick, because this is something I get all the time, like a top 3, certainly 5 question at my table is, how hot are they? Or is he hot? Right? It's like
I have like a rule. I need to get like a sign made. All my NPCs are hot.
There you go. This factory produces hot NPCs. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. No, respect. All right.
My players don't even ask anymore. They just know.
Yeah. Like, what version of Bad Boy is this? Yeah. No, I love that. So what's the deal with Casper?
So he, being the young he's the captain of the ship that initially the players charter to escape their various fates.
Cool.
So whatever their backstory was, if they were running from or to something, they chartered the ship that Casper owns to go to a different town across the bay, and they get blown off course and the plot starts. That's the opening to Stormlord's Curse. So I knew Casper could either be the most important person in the world, which he ended up being, or he could be absolutely nobody.
Complete one-off. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, oh, yeah, remember that hot pirate captain from the beginning? I wonder whatever happened to him, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so I made his story, and I can't say too much because there's a lot about him that's coming out right now, but I made his story with the thought in mind that if he did become part of the group, that he wasn't just like a butt of a joke, that he had something to offer, not just his skills, but like his wisdom, his personality, his comfort as a person. And then if the party did ignore him, that he could have a larger role in the movements of trade in the bay. He's one of the last pirates alive in this world because it's kind of taking place at the end of piracy. So,
dude, okay,
he could have.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just that's a very romantic time, right? Like the idea of being the last of a vocation. I mean, and I don't mean to glamorize it because there was obviously like a lot of like violent crime and theft, but you know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to sweep that away, but there also like were a lot of people that became pirates because it was a hell of a lot more equitable than the Navy. You know, I mean, they weren't like impressed. They weren't getting paid like shillings on the pound or whatever. And I don't know, like that I mean, I'm not sure if it's like 17th or 18th century, but like that always struck me as being so melancholic, you know, to like be aware, and I'm not sure how aware they were, but to kind of be part of that last group of pirates that was just rounded up, hunted. You know what I mean?
That's Casper. He's very young and he knows that, and that's kind of also what's scary for him about being one of the last pirates, is that he's not some older grizzled person that's lived this life, that he's gotten into it at the worst fucking time. And it could cost him everything. And so that's good. I think what drew me to pirates was the found family aspect, honestly.
Wait, the found family, 100%.
So many pirate crews ended up being so close as a unit, and so many other pirates of fame knew each other and were fond of each other.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's wild.
Yeah. There are a lot of pirate captains that either had like they hated each other or they were dear friends.
That's sick.
And so to be in a world where you're watching your friend, you know of their exploit, and you're watching your friends be gunned down, you're watching them be arrested, executed, you're watching their ships disappear in storms, and you know there will be no others after you. What do you do?
Dauntlys,
so
let's go.
Casper. And all the other pirates as well. We have a small handful of them.
That's really rad. I'm now getting a deeper, you know, more vibrant sense of this triangle that exists between.
Yeah. I can't wait to move to the other areas of the triangle.
Yeah, no, man. Because I've popped in. I've seen, you know, at least 3 episodes, maybe parts of 4, if not all of them, and there really are some significant jumps, right? That like
Yeah.
In you know, for me, it's always, for me, like a coherent DM is enough, where I'm like, okay, cool. Like I can sit back and track the activity. I can track the interaction. That's really engaging to me. But now hearing you describe it more, that's just really, I can see how that would happen and how that would come up. Damn, I want to read what Gervanch had. He had a tip for us. He has a tip. If someone wants to understand butterfly effect and time travel, okay, I'll save this for my stewed.
Steins Gate. Yeah.
What is it? There's a thing called Steins Gate, and has one of the most accurate theory about the subject. An amazing storyline. So is Steins Gate a work of fiction, or is that sort of like a premise?
It's an anime.
Shit.
It's pretty good. I haven't finished it. I watched it many a moon ago. It was but a smaller version of myself.
Sure.
Sure. But I remember, I'm wearing glasses to show time has passed.
Yes, there we go. It's a way different hairstyle, 100%.
Yes.
Sweater.
And so, but I remember looking back on it fondly. I agree with that recommendation.
Cool.
Definitely check it
Okay.
out.
Appreciate that cosign. Gervanch, thank you for that recommendation, my boy. I will, I'll scope that out. Honestly, like, I love animes, and it's something that I've definitely not a picking point, something that really recently, in a loving way, came to a head between me and my partner, where she basically was like, yeah, I don't like them. I sort of was like, oh shit. I was like, even Neon, and I was like, we watched like 50 episodes. She was like, yeah, I don't really enjoy them. I was like, oh, well, that's, now I feel like guilt. Now I feel real selfish. Anyway, so I'll find some cheeky time on my own to tuck into Steins Gate.
Yes.
I appreciate their recommendations. So was this, because, Stormborn's Curse is an actual play, and you guys do, unless you've like really, and it would not be the first time, but unless you've really just pulled one over on me, it's a live play. Like, this is not pre-recorded. Like, this is happening on Twitch. Everybody's live. Okay, cool. And had you jumped into that before? Like, I mean, I would just love to know about kind of your journey with, because that's super intimidating. I mean, tip of the cap, like, you run a great stream.
Thank you.
Like, what was that journey like? I mean, sure, there were some bumps in the road, or...
Oh, yeah. Remember how we talked about me not knowing how to DM and brute forcing my way to it anyway? There's a pattern.
Let's go. But, let's be real. Like, this cold world often demands that. We don't always have mentors in that sense that, like, I mean... I know that's always not the most comfortable way, but just good on you. I don't know.
Oh, thank you. No, it's appreciated because it's true. I knew about Twitch, but I only got on Twitch after I started modding for who's now one of my dearest friends, and I didn't understand anything about it. I had always been kind of intrigued and like attracted to like the vlogging / streaming as content creation, but I thought like I had the personality for it, classic being an actor,
You're an actor,
wanting to talk at things.
No, for sure, yeah.
But I never knew technologically what to do, and Stormborn's Curse had been gathering dust, and it's the pandemic, and I am just isolated, as many of us were, and I remember just missing rolling dice. And the first playtest of Stormborn's Curse had gone to shit, so I thought the game itself was cursed. But wait, I took a risk.
Was the playtest before? Like, was that 2019?
The playtest was somewhere between 2017. 2019. Time is a weird soup.
No, it is. It got souped up hard, obviously. So then it's happened. It has come to rest, and then is resurrected.
Yes, I buried Stormborn's Curse. I read a eulogy. It was
with these hands.
Yes, yeah. I shoveled the dirt myself,
right.
And I remember just sitting in my house and being like, I miss talking to living people. And so I took a risk, and through some of the people I had met in the community that I mod for, I was like, I had reached out to who's like now one of my best friends in the whole world, Kristen House. She's also a TTRPG actual play performer. She's one of our cast members. I reached out to her, and I was like, I know we're just getting to know each other and become friends, but I kind of DM. I think it would be fun to do a game online. And then it was over from there. We
Yeah.
kind of went back and forth about people we knew. We brought in our original cast, and I was like insane because I was like, what if we stream it to make it more complicated? I didn't know
Dude.
anything.
Yes, I love that. You're like,
I didn't know anything.
how about we, instead of doing what we're doing, let's do it over a pit of fire.
Literally, I had no reason to do that whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I just decided, I just did a bunch of research to figure out the tech, what I ran my poor work laptop into the ground. It's still the one I use.
Dude, you're about to bury that with these two hands. I know.
Literally, it requires life support to function. It has to be plugged in, but it served me well because it got me here.
Yeah.
But that's what I did. I just was like, guys, you know, let's talk about the safety wise and make sure we're all on the same page. But I think other people would like, and we didn't even approach it, and we still don't. It's our philosophy is that Stormborn's Curse is a game where you feel like you're watching people sit around a table in somebody's kitchen with a bunch of snacks and play. That's always been the intention. It's always going to be different to do an AP, but the intention has always been like, I'm not making you perform. I'm not making you be something you're not. I want you to play as if we're sitting together in the same room because that's what we need right now.
You're like porting over a home game. Yeah, man, that's awesome. And what great timing, I'm sure, for you guys to be like, okay, we're locked inside. Like, we are here. You know, and then on top of that, like, hey, we are all like, did anyone at your table have experience streaming? It sounds like yes,
no.
Right? Okay, no.
No. At that time, no. It was all of it. Me and Kristen had kind of both thought about it in the same way, had never done it. Sarah, no. Jake, no. Who joined us later. Sachi, yes, but she joined us way down the line. She's now one of our newer members. And Chris also no. Yeah, when our original group, when we first started, we had no experience.
That is so good. You know, but if everybody's down, I mean, obviously a conversation that needs to happen. Like, how beautiful to have that energy and that timing all be at once. And yo, Fuzka, get in here. All right? I'm not going to chide you for being late. I'm not going to chide. No time for chiding. Get in here, digital hug. Boop. I'm glad you know Dauntlys. She's incredible. Fuzka also insanely talented DM, runs a lot of fun games.
A fan of Claws of Casvana.
Okay.
I've been spectating Claws from afar.
Let's go. Here we go.
Yes.
There it is. No,
excellent work.
No, she's been, I mean, I feel like you guys have like triple downed Fuzka. Like, they've just been like, hey, we're actually going to just like pump out 4 times the content. Here we go. That's so good. I
have great respect for them, and I also hope your finale went very well, because I hear it happened.
Ditto. Fuzka, I need to check that out. I feel like I've missed the last 2, but maybe it's been 3. I'm going to shout you out at the end of the stream. Fuzka, you are a legend. Fuzka was on last Wednesday, yes? Or was it 2 Wednesdays ago? It was 2 Wednesdays ago, yes.
So I'm sitting in a Legends chair. Okay.
Yeah, it's true. Agreed. It's Legends only, honestly, on Wednesdays. That's how Gravanch got in here as well.
I love it.
Man, that's so rad, though. All of that is so real. Like, just to sort of button it, and not that this needs to be the end of it, but that same drive, Dauntlys, that like, because it is, I feel like sometimes I beat myself up for doing those type of things where I'm like, man, I jumped off so deep, you know, or like I really went in like, oh, now I feel overwhelmed, or now I'm like really having to figure it out like now. And that of course can be uncomfortable, but I think that motivation is truly adjacent to the same thing that pushes you to be up on stage or pushes you to show kids how to do it. You know what I mean? Like, there's times I feel that way where I'm like, man, I feel so selfish or so like me. And that is because sometimes that is fucking true, but you know what I'm saying? But there's also, I think, more recently, just a willingness to almost concede that there is some ego inherent in a willingness to be the DM or be the one that's like, hey, let's put this out. Let's stream this because it's content that I want to create and it's low enough stakes that I feel good with it. So I don't know, anyone out there that's like hesitating, it really is nice to just try something, and regardless of traction, regardless of viewership or numbers or whatever, see how you feel about it. Be like, what was this experience like, you know?
I've been asked this before, so I'm gonna repeat it. Anyone can be a DM. Anyone can be a DM. It's just about loving it.
Yeah.
Not every personality is suited to it, and that's okay. Don't jam a square peg into a round hole. But if you have the personality for it, whether you're streaming it, whether it's live, whether it's recorded, whether it's just a home game, try it. Because you're going to regret it if you don't, number one. And number two, I always try to be the person in other people's lives that catches you when you fall and tells you did good and pats you on the back.
Dude.
Because we all need that.
Yeah.
And I hope for everybody who maybe is thinking about trying it, that you have somebody like that. And even if you don't, I guess I don't want to offer myself like the ghost of Christmas past in this way, but like, just genuinely, I love it's my favorite thing, hearing about people try it for the first time and loving it. Like, you have a community of people who are doing the same thing as you, taking the same leaps, the same risks, and loving it. So give it a try.
Cosign. So well put. Yeah. Fusco's also just like completely
Fusco's
correct.
cracking me up.
Fusco's like, correct. No, you're right though. I mean, like, yeah. I mean, it is something you need to clarify, and you're absolutely right that like, hopefully find someone that reciprocates that desire to catch. Like, I feel like some of the best players I have are also just like dear friends, but many of them have experienced DMing, which I think can help get in that language, that like fluency of understanding, like what needs to happen, how a game can function, etc. Man, oh, that's so wild. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about Stormborn Curse. Like,
Sure.
if there are some people that haven't seen anything, like where would they hop in? Like, what's the best way? Are they? Is it up on YouTube as well?
Yes, not all the episodes, because there's a lot happening.
No, life is happening for sure.
Life is happening. This be pulling out my note cards to go through the spiel.
Yeah.
So.
And life is going down.
Yes.
Yeah.
About a month ago, and this is still valid advice, I don't think this advice expires, but about a month ago, I would have told you to start around episode 30. And the reason being is, even though that's very far, we run 4 to 5 hour episodes like Critical Role does, and trust me, we've heard it all when it comes to the length of our episodes. You can't say anything that's going to surprise me.
Did people say it's too long? Is that what everyone says?
We are running in sort of a podcasting space, so we do get a lot of shit for our episodes being long and unedited because they're streamed live, but I counter with that. If you're going to pay for an editor for me, or you're going to do my job so I have time to edit, then our episodes will be shorter. But all of us at our table have ADHD, and we get on tangents and things, and it's just not fair to force people into a small box. It's just not going to be satisfying.
Yeah.
Give us time to ramble, to take breaks, to steer back, and also really dive into the... Anyway, tangent.
No, but it's kind of like you say, like, you're porting over a home game experience. You know what I mean? And like, that's an important distinction, because, I mean, much like Fusco was saying, like the difference between pre-recorded and live, but that same difference between like home game, like a captured home game, versus like a heavily produced actual play. And they don't have to be that different. I'm not saying it's like, you know, like different languages, but they are different. And I don't know. I mean, I know the actor, the teacher, like just the creator in you knows that feeling. I mean, Garvanch, Fusca, I mean, pretty much anyone, but that need to meter out your own caloric burn. You know, I mean, I honestly, that's like part of what I've loved about Twitch is I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to download the episode, maybe trim the beginning and the end by like at most 4 seconds.
There we go.
And then like goodbye. Like, you know what I mean? Like
it's gone.
It's here. I got to kick it with these rad peeps. I feel like it's a resource, but I mean, I come from a background of like scripted comedy and sketch comedy. So everything had to be like showtimed. I mean, we needed the location, we needed the grips, we needed the boom, like, and it was just too much. Like, it was very expensive, but it's still, I don't know. I don't mean to talk too much, but whenever you say when you're willing to buy an editor for me, I feel that in my organs, like inside my body. You know what I mean? Because that's how people come up. And Garvanch, I love you for this. You got me so good the other day where I was like playing stream and Garvanch was like, when's Coffee Cop season 2? And it like internally, bro, it split me open because I was like,
oh no.
Oh. I mean, because there's nothing more that I want on this earth. than to go forward and make that next 22 minutes and have it be poppin' and super whatever. But I also know that like I'm sort of, and bear with the metaphor, but I'm almost like post childbirth. Like I'm just like, I need some time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I can barely even look at this kid. I need to get back to good, and then let's talk about having another kid.
Yeah. No, I come from a very similar background of filmmaking and things like that. So
Yes, thank you, Foos. Yeah, okay, cheers. Yeah. Right? I mean, because it's hard to know when you're, because the fun stuff is easy to feel.
Oh, of course.
The writing, right? The juice, creating the NPCs, rolling for that event, the actual game. But you don't want to lose yourself too much in getting the sound levels right or getting the labels right on the upload. Yeah, I just appreciate hearing that. I mean, I think in general, generationally, we are reaching a much, much broader acceptance of that, which I think is like helping everybody. Like, I love this about you, where sometimes you'll just be like, hey, like, I'm not gonna stream tonight. Like, I'm not either like stuff come up, or honestly, like, I'm not feeling it. I'm gonna make myself dinner and kick it. Like, the world needs more of that instead of sprinting bone on bone into the horizon. You know what I mean?
That's something I've taught myself recently, is that I spent like the first half of my life, which includes my childhood, breaking my back for very little return because I thought it was the right thing to do. And you just don't have to. You don't. Are you going to miss out on some things? Probably, yeah. Are people going to, reject you for opportunities? Maybe. But you'll be healthy, in air quotes, and alive.
Yes,
and
also
happy,
in air quotes.
and right. And able to come back to that thing and say, like, I'll try again. I'll try again to push for so many numbers, or I'll try again to make this ambitious thing, because you have time.
Yeah.
I started working on my next long-term campaign while I was running Stormborn's Curse, and I had to stop because it was too much. And I couldn't put the love into it that I put into Stormborn's Curse. It's okay to take breaks. It's okay to step back. It's okay to take your time. The world, as on fire as it is, the world is not going anywhere. And you'll have time to explore it.
Totally. Like, I mean, we are trapped in a global fire. But at the same time, there is no exit. Like, here we are. And agreed, Fusca, save the grinding for the dance floor, y'all. Like, and even then, be situational. You know what I mean? Like, like, we aren't machines. It's just so easy to get lost in that. Okay, just truly last thing, because I'm enjoying this. I'm
chilling.
Yeah,
I have
totally
decided in the moment of that conversation, I'm not streaming tonight. So
let's go. That's so good. Respect that so much. Listen, that's how I've gotten with some of these voiceover auditions, where I'll read it and be like, excuse me, no. Like, fuck no. Like, what is this? And it's the same thing with some commercial stuff where I'm like, yo, I got this at 12. You wanted it 4. I'm in North Hollywood. Let me look at this real quick. Okay, there's no lines. You want me to create the spot for you?
Yeah.
I'm out. Like, it's just,
take care of yourself.
The model has broken itself. A really talented actor, Deshaun Terry, he's in Coffee Cops, but that is not his biggest credit, but he is in Coffee Cops. But man, he's just an amazing individual. And I remember he and I were hanging very beginning of the year after I had put this out, and I was more just like, dude, I'm super burned out. And he gave me the analogy of like keeping plants, and how, excuse me, we have these plants, we love them. And sometimes we can overwater them. Like, we can sort of just pour too much into them. And the act of pouring water, in this sense, like the love of creating that can fall into grind, is not inherently a bad thing. It's just, it can be really, really rejuvenating and incredibly healthy to you and the plant to water something else. To go over here and use that water in a different way, in a different capacity. And so I just kind of wanted to toss that out, because so much of what you just said resonated, and what Deshaun is adjacent to that. It like really helped me in the second half of this year to kind of pick and choose to maybe be a little kinder, to myself.
That's me too, is like I can make so many people happy by doing appearances, by doing games, by running games, by playing at tables, online, offline, home games. I can make so many people happy with the content I produce, whether or not it's seen in a public way. But I'm not gonna make myself happy stumbling home after all of those things.
Dude,
because
yeah.
I'm exhausted. So at some point I have to make me happy too.
And
It's just how it works.
yeah, no, 1,000%. Man, okay. That's so sick. It's so funny how I have a pretty extensive template. Maybe it's just getting more into it and just being able to chill with more peeps. But I feel like I have been off my template for the last like 5 sessions where I'm sort of just
Really?
like, yeah, more just because like I know it, but so much of what the guests are saying is so indicative to good questions that a newbie DM would need to know anyways.
Yeah.
But now this is more just kind of like the saucy dish section. Like, is there anything, I'm just curious, I love talking about like toolboxes. Like for me, it's super helpful to have, like you said, like, what is the wife's name of the guard, or, who is, like what is like kind of a fun thing. I love having little situations, people quarreling over price, someone stepping out in front of a cart. I mean, just like basic stuff where like you can see some fabric, some color, like, and not that they need to be world building, but if you, Dauntless, today were going back in time, to whenever, 2018, what would be some things in your toolbox that you would pass backwards to your younger self?
Ooh, that's a great question. What would I give to my younger self? Well, the very first thing I would tell my younger self isn't necessarily a tool at all.
Let's go.
But,
Count it.
well, it might be. It's about safety.
Yeah,
and it's about comfort. I think that would be the biggest thing. Stormborn's Curse as it exists today exists because I was mistreated by players. That process is not okay.
I'm so sorry to hear that, and thank you for giving voice to that. You're right. It's totally
not. I mean, I am okay. As like say, obvious. I'm here. I'm happy to talk about the campaign. Obviously, the campaign still happened, and now I have some of the most important people to me in the world I met through this game. So it all worked out. But I think that would be the first in neon thing I would tell my younger self is you should not be bullied into telling a story. That's the first one. And the second one is kind of what I learned the very first time I sat at my friend's table, is that yes, a world has to have rules and confines and bounds, and it should have systems, logical systems that allow things to unfold in a way that makes sense. But you can always get creative with those systems so you don't back yourself into a corner. What is set can change. And like,
yeah. That's so good.
It can change. It doesn't. You don't have to carve it in stone. Young one.
Put down that chisel. Yeah.
Literally. Like, you can make things fluid. As long as you don't say it out loud, it's never happened. No one's gonna like.
Dude, I was about
grade
to
you.
say that. That's so good.
Right? It's like if you in your head decide the guard's name is Jerome and his wife's name is Willa, and you never say it out loud, his name could be totally different when you say it out loud later, and that's okay because it serves you in that moment.
Yeah.
And you can let that go. Those are my two.
Dude, and that's, yes. And it's hard to capture that as like, to describe that to a new DM, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like that sort of increasing your accepted ratio of mistakes is oftentimes really not increasing the amount of mistakes you're making. Because it's, as you said, like, yes, if you have not said it, nobody knows it exists, And I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that can be super liberating. And that can be, I think, something that, especially with modules and absolutely with new DMs, people can get a little rigid and a little bit deer in the headlights because they recognize it's a big moment. They're in the role play or whatever. And they're not sure the name of the old woman in the shack in the woods. And it's kind of like, dog, whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, just like everyone's right here. It's visceral. Just call her Barbara. Like, let's go, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's wise. That's wise. Like, how would you label that item in your toolbox?
Flexibility.
Flexibility. Yeah.
I think flexibility is a good word. It's not quite improv. Improv is a good one. I already have that one though, because I did it, like in the comedy sense. So next to that is flexibility.
Yeah.
And it's like a different. It's like, you know, you get different kinds of wrenches and different kind. It's like a different.
They look very similar. The gauge is different. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's important to be able to say, like, I'm gonna do something for laughs, and then I will make it serious later, or I'm gonna let go of this thing that I got wrong, or I'm gonna talk to my players and check in with them and then retcon this stupid shit I said because it contradicts the notes I have.
Yeah. Like,
they get messy.
In the shadow of that is like sometimes the answer is just a fucking retcon. In the same way that sometimes the answer truly is a double cheeseburger. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, I mean, I mean, obviously, like, some people, I mean, for me, and that's okay. Like, you can, like you said, be messy. You don't need to be as precious with your own lore, or certainly the campaign book. Like, you're trying to create these moments and tell the story together.
Yeah.
It's sick. Oh, that's rowdy. Has anybody ever died at your table, Dauntlys?
Ooh.
Got you. Stormborn.
Yes, in Stormborn's Curse, but it was planned. So
Oh,
I don't know if
snap.
that
I
counts.
didn't know that.
Yes.
So they talked to you beforehand?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Because I usually recommend people jump in around this time. Oh, puppy.
I know. The
The
mailman is here.
barks just bring me so much joy. I don't want to say too much because it's about where I recommend people jump in, but there is a player who wanted to mess around with like who her character could become, and I was like, sure. And I just kind of had the agency to lean back and pull the trigger whenever I felt it was best. And yeah, I killed the character.
Let's go.
Cool.
Okay, and is that... I mean, obviously, I'm not like celebrating death, but I do think, but I do think that's like the stakes and the presence of death, both IRL, but certainly in the table, is like, you kind of need a couple dashes of that.
Yeah.
I mean, to sort of like make the sweet sweeter, or kind of give some scope to why the fuck people should care about rolling in that one. Is it after episode 30?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. I mean, guys, that is a strong pitch to pick up on episode 30 and roll. Like, I'm with that. And Fusca, appreciate that cosign. Yeah. It's hard to find that balance. Man, okay. I am just out of, like, respect for the template. Just gonna make sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. You know what? I like literally haven't opened this in so long. I haven't asked this in probably 2 months. I'm like, did I write this? But let's go ahead and just like hard caveat into this next question, and then we'll move into the rapid fire, which is my favorite. But this is so funny. This is like verbatim. What's your position on traps? Like, how do you approach them? Do you run them? And if so, like, how do they find success? And I realize maybe why this is buried at the bottom of the template. I'm like, oh shit. What's up? But I am genuinely interested because I like traps.
That's my, I think, favorite interview question I've ever received. How do I do traps? So, okay. I have a rogue in my party. I no longer do traps. They serve no purpose.
Wow. Just because, like, they have, like, minimum...
Here's my take from what I've learned from Stormborn's Curse, and in future campaigns I may use them. I definitely use them in one-shots, but for Stormborn's Curse I no longer use them. I do puzzles instead. Cool.
And they are so adjacent, right? They can be.
Yeah. I do puzzles that punish you instead of traps, because the setting, if I'm to stick to the 5e, like, you set a DC, your players clear the DC. If you're doing a group check, it has to be an average, right? It doesn't serve me if the rogue rolls really great and either disables the trap or clears the trap if it's not something you can take apart. and then
Yeah.
the rest of the party has to suffer for not having that intellect or not rolling as well, it feels like an instant get out of jail free card. And
For
I
the rogue. Yeah.
found, yeah,
Gotcha.
exactly. Like, no matter how much I try to get creative with traps that won't punish the rogue for just being good, but also won't punish the party for not being a rogue, I just haven't found that balance. And honestly, that could just be something I need to learn. I'm perfectly okay with that. But for me, I found it more effective to do puzzles that punish. So puzzles that either
Yeah.
deal damage or take something or fuck things up in some dramatic way that everyone can contribute their skills to. So if the rogue wants to try and disable part of it, they can do that, or stealth away from a summon that happened because they fucked up a safe combination or something like that. But then also the spellcasters in the party can use their spells, and it building on that. I found that to be much more successful because I love traps as a concept.
Yeah.
It hurts in a special way when you have a rogue constantly like rolling 30s to disable or see traps or clear traps, and then everyone else is rolling like 9s.
Yeah. No, like that feeling of not wanting to punish players for not being a fill in the blank is like really, really tangible, and you can find ways to balance it. But Foos, I love that suggestion as well, like that you try to make them almost location based, or like it's almost can be a skills challenge to either locate it or find a way to break it apart. Yeah, agreed. With the reliable talent, it's just brutal. Yeah. And at the same time, like I love that, it's sort of that shooting arrows at the monk type thing. Like you kind of need to, or not need to, but sometimes as a player it feels great to just stunt and be like 26, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And so let them succeed, but agreed, if the rest of the party is getting like punished for it, that sucks.
I try to always give my rogue chances to show off when he can stealth, to show off when he can assassinate people. He just recently multi-classed an artificer. Little bit of a spoiler, but it's cool to know that and see the process of the character changing.
Yeah, I can see that. That's dope.
And so like seeing that shift and like rewarding him with situations in which like he can show off those abilities has been far more rewarding to all of us. So I try to do that of like, let the wizard with stupid eye perception, or no, she has a really good wisdom score. So let her deal with all the mental bullshit because she's going to clear the checks for it, and then I can mess with her brain.
Yeah, dude, let's talk about dominating casters. Come on. Let's go.
Oh
no, yeah. Man, that's it. I think you're hitting the nail on the head. And you know what? I'm realizing I gotta bump that question up. Fusca, when can I have you back on? All right,
have Fusca on just to answer that question.
It's Wednesday Trap Day. I love that. I think another just thing to toss out for especially like a new DM and more just for like antiquity on YouTube, because it's so well put about tailoring it and making puzzles dangerous. I think that's oftentimes like the successful way. But sometimes I do want, for lack of a better word, a pressure plate trap, if only to just sort of add either to the ambiance, like the threat level, kind of the vibe of the location, of the dungeon, of the situation.
Yep.
Or, truth be told, as my party is, racketing towards level 14, I gotta slow these bastards down. Like, they're on the path to fucking godhood. So now I'm like, okay, how can I resource drain? Skibbity-doop, skibbity-boop.
Same.
And sometimes that, I think, can actually be really, really helpful. If it's like, no, dog, like, there are blow darts in this section of the tunnel, and we'll see how much damage you take. Scoop. But if it's not that, I want, similar to a puzzle, for my party to be able to see it. It gives them the ability to kind of game plan. It gives them, like you said, the ability to kind of, crack the egg multiple ways. And that's the fun stuff about D&D. It's like these off-the-wall solutions.
I love watching them talk through situations together, because I think a lot of people go like, metagaming, and I'm like, I like to sit back with like popcorn and know the solution to the puzzle and know how simple it is, and watch them like plan to set up a Rube Goldberg machine to explode the puzzle.
Let's go.
to get through the door. I think it's funny.
If we can capture a quartz and smash it into another quartz.
If we can charge a guiding bolt and use it at the exact same time that we counterspell this other element,
exactly,
maybe the door will open.
That's so good. It's like, hold the counterspell, release. Honestly,
and there's just a button on the wall.
Yeah. They rolled like a 12 on their investigation. That's so well put, Dauntlys. That's hilarious.
I love watching other people get to be creative and have fun together.
And it's them vibing. That's what you're incubating. So now they're taking off and they're zipping around your world. Agreed. Like, yeah, and watching your players play together is the best. Man, that's so rowdy. Well, damn, Dauntlys, I feel like we got to do it. And this is always, and listen, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if your palms are sweaty, it's understandable, because we're moving.
I love a challenge.
Well, this is it. This is a little section known as the rapid fire.
Oh.
It's where I hit you with a sequence of. Honestly, they're like rarely that fast. I always get distracted by your answers, and it becomes tangential. But in theory, it is rapid fire. And essentially, like, I'm tossing out kind of like binary, like either or kind of questions, you know,
Bring it
like
on.
red or blue or whatever. But they're all, you know, D&D adjacent, of course. And there is no wrong answer. I'm more just curious in what you got going. So, with no further ado, are you ready for some rapid fire?
So ready.
Let's go. Now, I, of course, say binary, and then the first one is an option of 4. So, do you, for creating characters in your campaigns, use standard array, point buy, 46 drop lowest, or 3d6?
Okay. Depends. If I'm playing the character that I'm making, 46 drop lowest.
Sick.
If I'm creating an NPC for a campaign, I do point buy.
Okay. And that's to give you more control over the NPC?
Yes, I would rather much like roll a dice with, are they going to betray the party and leave that up to chance and know what their skills are, than leave their skills up to chance and need them to be able to do something.
Copy. And especially with like, you have so many like pots on the, on the burners. Just go ahead and do that. I feel that 100%. I like 46 drop lowest, but I'd never thought about point buy as a faster workaround. Okay, this is maybe the big one.
Okay.
Dungeons or dragons?
I have come prepared. Dragons.
Let's go. Okay, that was definitely like the one in my opinion.
I literally have Fizzbins sitting right here.
Yeah?
Dragons.
Let's go.
Dragons.
My party just ran into an ancient blue dragon. Okay, but this is rapid fire. You cannot distract me. Okay,
Not
so dragons over dungeons. Dragons or giants?
Dragons.
Okay, love it. Red dragon, blue dragon. It's tough.
See, this is hard because I'm thinking of like my DM brain has an answer, and then my player brain is just screaming.
Yeah, and the player brain is screaming red dragon.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Actually, yeah. 100%.
Yeah. DM brain blue dragon, because I feel like you just don't see him. Dude. Unless you're doing like Tiamat or something. Player brain red dragon, because I just killed one and it was the best feeling in the world.
Ooh, red dragons are like bad boys. Like no one should feel bad about killing a white dragon or a red dragon, right? Like they're menaces. Like they need to be brought to task. Agreed. Blue dragons, like the ancient blue dragon is like the matriarch of kind of the wild powers in my campaign, and they just met her yesterday, and it was so fucking sick. It was so satisfying. Okay, copper dragon or gold dragon?
Ooh, copper.
Sick.
Because I like the color better.
Cool. Love that.
And I just think it's fun. I think it's a cool, different kind of dragon.
No, they are. You also don't see a lot of coppers, but like the trickster jokester is so fun to me.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're making one for the rest of all time, spellcaster or melee?
Spellcaster.
Wow, let's go. Immediate reaction from the hip.
Easy.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and switch it up. Produce flame or firebolt?
Produce flame.
Wow.
Controversial.
Cool. No, but that's the druid in you.
Yeah, I much would rather be creative with the fire I can control and do more damage.
Copy. Yeah, the D8 versus D10, but agreed. It's like some weird, like, out of combat
The
flexibility.
rules are vague and are
Yeah,
taken advantage.
the rules are vague. Agreed. Okay, guidance or mage hand?
Mage hand.
Cool.
I like to touch stuff and it gets me in trouble. Mage hand saves
Yeah,
me.
mage hand again. You can like tap people. You can like tickle people. Okay,
Yep.
mending or spare the dying?
Spare the dying because mending doesn't repair magical items.
Got you. Okay, interesting reasoning. I love that. D100 or D12?
Hold on. Let me look at a D12. I need to look a D12 in the eye and
Yeah,
see
no,
what the feel is.
hold either in both your hands.
Oh God, what pocket are you in? Here we go.
Fusca, yeah, I will go back and check the tape on that. That's so good.
D12.
D12, let's go.
D100s, it's too many numbers. You don't need that many numbers.
The
This
duality.
is a compact boy.
Agreed, and it's also a chunky boy. Like there's some weight to a D12. Like you could put it in a sling and like do some damage, right?
There we go. Yeah.
Okay. Elf or dwarf?
Elf.
Elf, cool. I'm also an elfie. Gnomes or halflings?
Halfling.
Halflings, traditionalist. Wait.
Because of halfling luck. I just think it's funny that they're
the luck
intrinsically
is
lucky.
so funny. Yeah, what a random. I've never played a halfling, so I kind of forget they have that. Like, what a beautiful mechanic.
Also because they're supposed to be hobbits, and I just really love Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, no, agreed. It's so funny how like Tolkien's estate is just like constantly getting after people. Okay, tabaxi or tiefling?
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
This is a sexy head-to-head.
Yeah, I know. Tiefling.
Tiefling, let's go.
Yeah.
The hellish bent. Okay, tiefling over tabaxi. This is the only trick question. Turtle or turtle? And know that we stand turtles on this show.
Nice. I love it. Turtle.
Turtle, there it is. We still officially needed an answer. And it
Okay.
is turtle. Dude, that is so fucking good. Okay, so we'll get back into the spells. Healing word or cure wounds if you have someone on death's door?
Cure wounds. I'd much rather have somebody be up than just stabilize them. Healing word doesn't do as much.
Gotcha. Yeah, you don't get as big a die.
Yeah.
And again, that touch sometimes can be nice. Okay, this is sort of the head-to-head of the classics. Fireball or lightning bolt?
Lightning bolt.
Ooh, okay. The reasoning?
Lightning bolt. I would much rather find a line angle and make it super badass and get like 5 baddies in one row than do fireball and kill 2 of my party.
Dude, and it is that, Dauntlys. It is that where I'm like, okay, I've got 5 of the gnomes right, or the gnolls right here, and also the wizard. Like whatever, the cleric is like caught up in the situation. I have literally never. Okay, maybe not never, but that always happens. Lightning bolt with that range is crazy. Fey Realm or Plane of Nine Hells?
Fey Realm.
Ah, let's go. Mass Suggestion or Charm Monster?
Charm Monster.
Charm Monster? Cool. Like, if you're charming a monster, I think it's a 6th level spell.
Yeah.
Shit's about to get wacky. Like, are y'all gonna have lunch? Like, what's gonna happen now?
I'm the person who tries to pet the owlbear, and the DM is like, you're going to lose your hand, and then I roll like super high on animal handling and form a meaningful like how to train your dragon bond
Let's go.
with every owlbear I see. So of course I'm going to offer the power of friendship to the most horrifying of creatures.
Dude, that is so good though. And honestly, a great start to a relationship is just charming them. It's just hard charm, get it out of the way. Okay. Wait, where was I? Okay, yes. Hunter's Mark or Hex?
These are both classes I have played once.
Okay.
Yeah, Hex.
Hex, cool.
Hex, yeah.
Hex thematically has so much going on.
I like the vibe better than Hunter's Mark, even though
Gotcha.
Hunter's Mark is more practical.
I am a sucker for Rangers. Like, Hunter's Mark and the tracking ability to me is always super rad, but both are kind of random spells from half casters that have a ton of like out of combat flavor. But I fuck with Hex. That's great. Okay, wizard or sorcerer?
Sorcerer,
Ooh.
only because I've never played a wizard.
Wow, ever amazing. Okay,
I am the forever DM, so
Got
I don't
you.
play nearly as much as I run games.
You're like, I might not ever be able to play one.
No, I will. This is a little sidebar, but Carrie, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the Carrie Smith. Carrie Smith's like awesome person in the space, and she's running a series called One Class Act, where every party is all of one class.
Whoa.
She asked me to be in like a majority of them, so I'm in almost
sick.
every one shot, and they all interconnect with the story. So I'm in almost each one, and that's like why I played a bunch of the classes for the first time. And the wizard one is, I think, the last one to be recorded.
Oh my gosh, so that's coming down the tracks.
Yes.
Oh,
it's
Dauntlys,
one.
that's dope. Okay, good. So you'll get a chance. Copy.
I'm
Well,
excited.
maybe it'll change. Like, sorcerers, I think, whenever I started, were like my preference. I was like, that's sick, let's go. But something about the weird, like, all the work, all the bookkeeping you have to do as a wizard, to me, is like immersive. You know?
Yeah, I think I like the sorcerer like flavor of magic of coming within a lot more than learning it traditionally. But then at the end of the day, wizards are so much sexier.
Yeah, no,
like
completely
in just
agree.
the ability range.
I also
So I'm
like
kind
their
of torn on that.
subclasses a lot more, like wizard as opposed to sorcerer myself.
Yeah, sorcerer is just kind of, does your magic come for your left hand or your right hand?
Totally.
And then-
Yeah, father's side, mom's side. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, last question of the
Okay.
rapid fire Dauntlys, and you will be through the choppy seas.
All right.
Yes or no? Should cats have dark vision?
Yes.
Wow. Boom.
I
Completely
see-
agree.
They have it already.
Yeah, no
Just
shit. You
let
ever
them
seen a cat?
have it.
Like, what the fuck happened in that meeting? Because here's the thing. A bunch of D&D bros, you know these guys are nerds. This is the 80s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't even mean to, like, negatively dump. I more mean these guys had been around cats.
Yeah.
These guys had been around cats. Have you never seen a cat? Have you never had to step over a cat at 1 a.m.?
Have you never been laying in the dark and you hear a cat rustling around and you know it's a cat, but you fear what they might be doing? Like, of course they have dark vision.
Yes. You're bracing for, like, that scuffle to lead to a cacophony and a crash.
Exactly.
Right? You're just like,
yeah.
no, Fuzka, I know you know. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. It's like I have a black cat, and
Oh no.
and it will play with toys that are also black in the dark. Okay, that
cat's a
settles
rogue.
it. Yeah. No, damn. Is it Bean or is it Boots? No, I'm blanking on his name. Fuzka?
Fuzka, please save
Yeah,
the cat
drop
for
the
me.
name
I
in
need
chat.
to know.
I'm
I
feeling.
need to know.
I have egg on my face. Nubs, of course.
Nubs.
What a great name.
That's so sweet.
Great name. Such a great cat.
And there's an emote for Nubs too.
Let's
yes,
go.
I love it. I love it.
Yo, so before we move into it, I do just want to shout out Fuzka, because you're a beast. Appreciate you rolling through. You run some great actual plays. If you're looking for like similar fun original content that
I'm not saying it makes sense.
We're
Just
all
where I'm
good
at.
here.
We're good? Poopy, you good?
What's up? Yeah, he's been looking at his wonderful
Oh, sorry, I did a shout out. I forgot you
look
can't
a
see
little
the
weird.
overlay.
No.
I'm such an idiot. Dauntless, you're like, what are we doing? I should have
I'm
cued you.
like,
I'm just sitting there like, no, man.
I blank on questions a lot, and so I could never tell if I missed someone saying something. It's just Wii music in my head, so I'm like,
No, legend, you are good. That was 1,000% me. That's I often feel like I have all the nuts and bolts of Twitch down, but that's a great example of a mistake I make every time I have a guest and
I do it
shout
to
someone out.
myself.
Like they're always like, "Are we still on?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, sorry, I was watching Fuzka." For those that are in chat, I forgot Dauntlys couldn't see that, but that was Ninners running that table. That's Fuzka's actual brother, but they play together and run
awesome.
essentially like rotating different campaigns for each day. But similar to you, Dauntless, in that their table has such just like fun, high level of play, high level of kind of give and take, you know what I mean, to sort of go back and forth. Gurvanch, that is so sweet, dude. I feel like it's self-grandizing to say that I need a moderator, but would I benefit from having my boy on the keys? Come on, dog. So I'm going to take that to Discord. I'm obviously interpreting that like you are offering. So feel free to walk that back. But you tell me, man. I'd love to get some thoughts on that, but I don't want to get sidetracked. Dauntless, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Dude, a treat. Like, what a pleasure to like finally get to meet you, chop it up. I've enjoyed your content for months. What's the best way to kind of stay in touch, to support you, to kind of keep an eye out for what's coming down the pipes?
All right, I'm gonna just do the spiel.
Dude, do the spiel and drop some links if you'd like. Feel free to drop that in there.
I don't have links available, but I will type them fast. So, hi, Dauntless. You can call me Daunt or Liz, TTRPG content creator and also a variety streamer and gamer here on Twitch. If you're familiar with any of the folks over at Team Neat Dude, like Chris Melberger and those folks in that orbit, that's my haunt. So if you are interested in variety games over there, you'll probably see me in a lot of those adjacent communities. But for my stuff, I am the DM of Stormborn's Curse, of course, our 5th edition, all queer, diverse, pirate-themed homebrew actual play, which is currently on hiatus.
But we'll be back.
We'll be back. I don't want to promise, but tentatively summer 2023.
Let's go.
Yes, well, I'm going away on a work thing, and it's just been a lot of shifts. We had a player leave the table in a fine way, so it's just things have changed. But if you do want to check it out, you can find me. YouTube dropped handles, which is great.
Let's go. It's about time.
I never had a custom URL, but so if you want to type in Dauntless as one word, DAUNTLYS, to YouTube, you can check out our episodes over there.
I'm going to drop that into chat. Let's go.
Oh, thank you. You can check out our episodes. I recommend you start around episode 30 if you're like, I don't want to watch all the 4-hour episodes. But if you do want to jump in at the beginning, though our tech may be scuffed, our hearts are not. And I encourage you to join us on the ride. You can find me and keep up with...
Dauntless, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just want to make sure I have it right. It's youtube.com and then it's / just Dauntless?
I think it's / Dauntless is how the handles work.
Thank you very much for that copy.
I don't know. It's very new. I just claimed mine the instant I got the emails.
No,
so I don't know.
That's a smart move. Okay, that's it. Thank you. Let me redirect that. Yes, I had the wrong one. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
That's good. But please, what's the best way to find you, like, outside of VODs?
So, Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Daunt_Liss. I'm currently fist fighting Twitter support to get my full username, but it's a suspended account. Probably not going to happen. But you can follow me over there. I'm very active over there. It's how you can find out if I'm streaming, if whatever nonsense is in my head, and also some of my friends that I often boost, and I would love for you to support as well. No, there is one more thing. It's like, is that all of the things I do? It's 2 more.
No, please, as many as you got. I know that feeling so well. You're like, what do I do again? No, keep it going.
Done a D&D thing in so long that I just have forgotten everything. It's all out of my brain. You can find me on Twitch at Dauntless as one word. I think I've spoken in chat, so you'll be able to like click on my name if you're seeing this on Twitch. I do variety games and TTRPG content, a little bit less right about now just with work stuff, but you can keep up with me over there in my shenanigans. Chaos and bad gameplay, that's our brand. And you can find me, actually, if you heard what we talked about today and you were like, man, I'd love to be in a game with Liz, I am taking D&D commissions, so I will run a game for you. That's over on my Ko-Fi. There's like a little button you can click to check out commissions, and the prices are intended to be split between the group you're rolling up with. So if you and 3 other friends want me to run a one-shot for you, then you and those 3 friends can split the cost and it's even among all of you, and then I get some compensation, and I can either write you a one-shot and run it, or I can just run something that you roll up with. Doesn't necessarily have to be D&D. I keep urging people to check that out, because while Stormborn's Curse is on ice, that's the best way to experience my D&D content. So
now
if you want to play, do it.
I mean, truly, feel free to be like, I don't know, that's wild. Could someone theoretically hire you to dip their toes into Stormborn's Curse? I mean, not as part of like the canon or the stream, obviously.
Oh yeah.
I more just mean
Absolutely.
like the world. That's sick.
Yeah. I built the world that way on purpose, so that like, I mean, safety mechanisms if it fell apart again, but also like, if I was like, man, I love that, I want to do that again, we could do it again, and it would be different and fresh.
Rad.
So if you're like, man, I want to do pirates, feel free to book a game. We can talk about it. I
mean, honestly, that's something I need to have a like firm conversation with my wallet about, because that sounds rowdy. Man, well, Dauntlys, thank you for coming on. This has been super fun.
Thank you for having
guys,
me.
I appreciate all you guys coming through as well. No, this was a treat. Like I've been looking forward to it for a minute, so I'm so glad it was able to happen. Yeah, go give them a follow, and honestly, I'm gonna be checking out YouTube /@Dauntlys later on today. After drive back to North Hollywood, I'm gonna throw on episode 30. Let's go. That's a guarantee. Guys, I do love to end my streams by rating another. Oh my gosh, Gervanch, bro, you think I'm getting out of here? Wait, hold up. Is it gonna start the raid? I'm so bad at this part. Hold up.
No.
Okay, no, it doesn't. It holds the raid.
No.
Okay, thank God. I was like, Jesus. I got to shout out my boy Gervanch. So I will give Dauntlys a heads up that I'm about to again go slack-jawed and silent as I shout out my boy G. Gervanch is another super talented creator. Dude, I mean, honestly, I feel like you're on a whole nother tip. Music producer, video producer, director, can't wait to see what we're about to see. I hope this is a Hindi stream, so we're about to find out. Here we go.
Khalifa one.
Who's talking about Mia Khalifa? I wasn't talking about Mia Khalifa. I was talking about Wiz Khalifa. I was talking about Wiz Khalifa. I was talking about Wiz Khalifa. You said Mia Khalifa. I got you right there. I got you on stream right now.
Okay, I can't believe that you did not see that clip, Dauntlys. I need to figure out how to.
I like pulled it up on Twitch.
Okay.
After the first time, I got smart.
there was a brief that's just a hilarious. Gervanch, that's you in a nutshell, dude. Somebody's trying to pin Mia Khalifa on you while you're trying to talk about Wiz Khalifa. Come on, been there, dude.
God.
Been there. All right. Yeah, defend yourself. Oh, that's so good. So, I'm gonna give Altruistic Latte a raid. If you guys don't already know her, she is super fun DM, and yeah. So please stick around if you can. Dauntlys, appreciate it, man.
Of course. I think it rated. There's a timer, so I think it sent them already.
I literally just saw that, and now I'm like, oh, they're gone. So we are